I feel like this is a Bigfoot sighting. When was the last time you did lacrosse media? I mean, I guess was it your retirement jersey? Which I also have some questions about.
Yeah, probably. I just did a recent interview with Carr, ESPN for Gary's run he's going on. So they had me come chat for a second, but this isn't very often. So this is excited.
Cool. We're feeling honored and privileged.
I'm honored. It's very cool to talk to you guys.
Your retirement party. I have a quick question logistically, if I may.
Okay.
Number 22. It's unhallowed. How many 22s are retired? Like,
is it like they're like 22A, 22B, 22.
I don't know what they're doing up there.
Like, are we re-retiring the jersey? Like I know your name's on it now, but how many guys that wore 22? Because it's not retired. I mean, Joey Spleen is wearing it right now. So like normally when it's retired, like no one wears it, right? Whereas it's passed down. It's a moment of pride, lineage, right? Which is so cool. It's so special. It's one of the amazing things that makes Cuse the incredible program that it is. It was just like, it's not retired. Then I was like, how many 22s are up there? Like, RB,
yeah, so right now,
like,
right now there's only 2, but when Gary called me to tell me that they wanted to do this for me, and obviously, as you guys know, it's an amazing honor, but he prefaced the whole thing with he's like, I don't get it either. It's not retired, and you're going to be sitting at an Applebee's at some point, and someone's going to come up and say, what is this whole retirement thing? Why isn't the jersey retired? So he was right.
So I'm basically I'm an Applebee's waiter or an Applebee's.
Actually, our office is coincidentally we're part of an Applebee's chain. The nice part is, you guys, it's happened with multiple brothers, so they just take off the first initial and they keep the nameplate intact. So that helps, logistically.
Right.
Well, how often do you get confused for Mike Powell? Do you know who the second most famous, or it's probably neck and neck, the other Mike Powell?
He's not the second most famous. He's the number. He is the number 1 most famous.
1991 world long jump record holder. Still to this day is the longest long jump.
So here's my story with that. I have Instagram, which I use very rarely, but my name is Mike Powell .co, right? That's all that was available. I have a very common name, right? So people to this day, I get track and field people reaching out to me all the time. So I made the decision that I'm going to get back to these people. So I sign off, like I say, thanks a lot for reaching out. Jump far. This is my tagline at the end of all my sign-offs.
The best part about it is you probably, if you did track and field, I feel like you would have been a stellar long jumper. You would have been right in there.
Oh my God.
I would think he's a decathlete maybe. He's got he does a little bit of everything well.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of jump right into it, but we do got to introduce you.
We do?
Yeah, no introduction necessary for, I would say, 95% of the track and field world and 100% of the lacrosse world, but one of the all-time greats, Mike Powell, 4-time All-American, 2-time Thornton winner, only one of 2 male 2-timers, and just all-around amazing guy. Excited to have you on.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Do you remember the first time we met?
I was trying to think about that, RB. I want to say probably on a visit somewhere, right?
Junior day.
Virginia?
Nope. Princeton.
Princeton was the first time we met.
Because this is like pre-internet, right? This was junior day. You used to go when you were juniors. This is like, way, way back when. You would go, it'd be like an unofficial thing. They'd bring all the recruits in one area. You'd sit, you'd kind of hear from the coaching staff, and they'd kind of leave you on your devices, and you'd go and kind of roam the campus, and there was like a scrimmage game, right? So we were in some room in the Princeton Lacrosse office. The meeting kind of wraps up, and they're like, all right, go have at it. You know, I forgot if it was a game or scrimmage, but like, see you down at the game or scrimmage at like 1 p.m. So like, I turned to my dad. It was me and my dad, and I'm like, he's like, do you want to like walk around campus? I'm like, no, I want to go to the game. Like, I want to go to the stadium. Like, no offense, but like, we're here. Like, you know, I'm junior in high school. Like, we have so much time left. I'm like, I just want to go to the game. I want to see like what it's all about. So we go down. We're like one of the first cars there, and you're there with both of your parents, if I'm not mistaken. And we're there, and just, like, we're the only two weirdos. Like, everyone else was like, yeah, we want to see Princeton campus, go to the bookstore, da-da-da. We're the only two.
Definitely a practice. You guys were definitely watching practice.
Maybe, probably.
That's why.
And so we're just, like, doing small talk, right? And so we didn't even say names or anything. We were just like, oh, like, where are you from? Like, Baltimore, Maryland. Where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm from Carthage. And I was like, oh, Carthage. Isn't that where Casey and Ryan Powell are from? And you're like, it was like, yeah, I'm Mike Powell. Or maybe it was your dad. Like, yeah, what's your dad's name again? I'm Blackie.
Larry.
He's like, yeah, we're the Powell family. And I was like, oh, well, that tracks. That would make sense then.
Oh, man.
Because again, it was pre-internet, so no one knew what each other looked like, and there wasn't as much like club stuff, or wasn't any club stuff. We weren't in showcases like that young. So it was like, and of course it was like, yeah, you and I were like, yeah, forget campus. Let's go down to Lacrosse. Let's go see what's going on here.
Check it out. Yeah, those were good times. I'll tell you, you know, I look back at our relationship, RB, just very fondly. We were certainly. You know, going to two different schools, competitors in a way, but I feel like we were always rooting for each other. We were always kind of in the same conversations.
Yeah.
And there was no one I would rather be in that conversation with than you. You know, I think we totally played differently, but it came from
styles, just really cool.
Right, but it came from the same place. I think we both just really loved competing and playing the game. So stories like that are so good, and we've had some good times over the years.
I remember my freshman year, and I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly, and you know, got some chills just hearing you say those words, and you know how I feel about you and your family. I remember my freshman year, you know, we were both highly kind of acclaimed recruits coming in to teams that had just played the national championship, and we again, this is like pre-internet, so like I remember going home like after games and like hunting on like whatever website that you could find, like or source or whatever, to find out the other scores, you know, across the league.
Lax Power, baby. I think there's Lax Power.
It might be the only one, right?
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly, it was my first game against Hopkins, and we won. I think that it was like 8-4, maybe was the final, and I had a really good game. I had like 4 assists, and I go, and you guys played Virginia. You guys always open the year up against Virginia, and I like click on the box score, and it was like, holy shit, this kid 4-4? Like, it was like, I'm feeling like, okay, we just beat Hop, dropped 4 dimes, feeling pretty good. Cuse took care of business, Virginia. Okay, like, he did what? He did what? Like, but yeah, I remember like that competitive spirit coming from a place of respect and like always wanting to outdo each other and always wanting to be our best, obviously for our teams, but then, you know, whenever there was a head-to-head, but yeah, also like keeping an eye on like, all right, what's going on, like what's going on up there, because like it's gonna come down to us too eventually, right?
Right.
As it did for a number of years. But I was always like, all right, what's going on up there? I think after the first game when you dropped like 4-4, I was like, I don't know if I need to check the stats like every game. Maybe I'll just focus more on me and us. But like, yeah, I was like, that's a nice slice of humble pie, just like right off the bat.
Was there ever any doubt? Like, obviously you went on recruiting visits, right? You went and checked out, but did you always know in your heart of hearts that you were probably going to end up at Syracuse, or did you really do you feel like I gave it a fair shot and I checked out some that maybe were close and Syracuse ended up winning out?
Mitch, to be honest with you, part of me didn't want to go to Syracuse. I wanted to. It was a lot of pressure to fill those shoes that were left there. So, in my head, I was always, somebody that, if you're zigging, I'm zagging type of person. So I always envisioned my college career going a different direction. Syracuse didn't recruit me, which is interesting. And, later on in history, the Thompson brothers slipped through.
I was thinking the exact same thing when you said that.
Yeah. So, I think originally I was like, this is going to be an opportunity to be my own man, learn on my own, carve my own little thing out. And went to Virginia, had a great trip. I think RB, you were on that trip with me. We went on a couple together somewhere. But I think it was me, you, Pasavia, Brett Hughes, maybe.
No, I wasn't on that trip. I was on the trip with Ricky Schultz. So if he's not rolling off your tongue, then we were on a different trip. So.
But I had a great time at Virginia, and then I did visit Princeton, which was an interesting visit. Not my best moment as a young person, but to fly out to New Jersey, you fly out of Syracuse airport. So I went down and stayed the night before with my brother Ryan at Syracuse. And wasn't feeling so hot at my Princeton visit. I remember Coach T picking me up, and I'm wearing mesh shorts, and probably still puke on my shirt. I'm like, oh my God, this is what a bad look for me. And ended up sleeping in Trevor's room for like an entire day. But really, I remember Princeton's one of those places. I mean, like Cornell in a way, Mitch. Like you just have a feeling when you're at those places. It's hard to explain unless you're there. It's kind of like the historical value of those locations. You're on the Syracuse campus. Yeah, it's cool, and there's a lot of history there. And, going into the Dome is awesome from an athlete's standpoint, but places like Cornell and Princeton, you just have like this feeling come over you when you're in those places. And I remember feeling that way when I was checking out Princeton. But long story short, I had one visit to Bern and took it to Fairfield because I had friends there, and had the best time ever, and was like, all right, I'm going to Fairfield. This is going to be awesome. And I called Casey, my brother, and told him that I was going to go to Fairfield. And he's like, no, you're not going to Fairfield, dude. And, he said, he goes, do you want to win a national championship? And I said, yeah, but, Fairfield has and he goes, stop, dude. Do you want to win a national championship? And he goes, go to Syracuse and you'll play on the big stage.
So you got bullied into going to Syracuse is what you're telling me. Pretty much. I'd say that worked out okay for you. And Ryan was joking. I don't know if you want to tell the story, but like the Syracuse-Princeton rivalry, it hasn't been as active as it was your guys' days. It was like every year, right? And now it's a little bit, and that's why we want to talk, especially now with the game coming up for the quarterfinals. Like it's a renewal of this rivalry that it was really during our generations was like such a big. I remember watching your guys' game on TV in my buddy's house in Massachusetts, and you guys played in multiple NCAA tournament games, including national championships against each other. So
we played every regular season, right? And then we always seemed to find each other in the tournament as well. I mean, our 3-year run in the tournament, we beat you guys my freshman year in the championship by 1 in OT. You guys won it the next year. And then in 03, we had that weird quarterfinal matchup where it was the neutral site, was at the Dome. and we were the home team. We both had like down years by
Did
our
you like get to
standards.
use their locker room?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. I
Oh
think.
my God.
I
That's
think
bizarre.
we were in their locker
That's
room,
weird.
and they had to be. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were in the home locker room, and they had to go in the visitors.
That's amazing.
And we were like, what? Like, what is happening? We're playing a quarterfinal game at the Dome. Like half our team was banged up. I didn't have hamstrings. Like I couldn't even run. And you guys just absolutely pumped us that year. And then our senior year, you guys won the title over Navy. We lost to them in the semis down in M&T. I think you had the game winner.
Definitely the insurance goal too. It
was
was
just
just
on
on
being
Instagram. It ended up being the game winner.
Yeah.
It was just on Instagram the other day. They were showing that it was like a tough loose ball at midfield, and someone passed it down to you. You buried it.
Yeah, that was Brian Nee.
Yes. Yeah, Brian Nee. That's right. Do you Ryan's like talking about exact stats from every game? Do you remember? Are you like you can place every game, like the goals you scored, how you guys played, or are you like me where I'm like, oh yeah, I think that happened 5 or 12 years ago?
I'm more in your camp, Mitch,
Okay.
for sure.
But I'm glad to hear it's not just me.
I remember people and kind of like, the style. Like I remember when I think back of my time playing lacrosse, I can picture, I have these names in my head, Ryan Boyle. I have a style in my head of how he played the game. So those are the things that I remember is kind of like the stylistic legacy of players. And I was even like that as a young kid. I was very attracted to players that had their own thing going on. It felt like something really unique. And the Syracuse Princeton thing in the 90s there was like, there were so many characters on those two teams that were iconic. On both sides of the ball, on both teams. It was just like everyone had their own identity. It was like a Royal Rumble, you're like, and coming out of the box, Hacksaw, Jim Duggett, So it felt that way to me. And the moment that kind of sealed the deal for me on the whole Princeton Syracuse thing was Andy Moe.
Yeah.
So here's a good story for you, RB. Growing up, I'm sure you guys did the same thing in the backyard. You're out there playing, and you're some player that you admired. I was usually John Zalberti was one of my big guys. Rob Kavovit was another guy I was always in my head. But I remember seeing Andy Moe score the game-winning goal for Princeton. Are you familiar with Andy Moe, Mitch?
Heard the name, but I couldn't describe his game.
So check this out. So I'm Andy Moe in the backyard, scores the game winner, and for like, a good year, I'm like trying these moves pretending I'm Andy Moe based on a couple goals I've seen him score. So long story short, just a couple years ago, someone was talking to me, Hess was talking to me about Andy Moe and his story. And it's unbelievable. This guy is like the world's most interesting man. And you must know more about this than I do, Rye, but like after they won the championship, he asked the bus to stop somewhere, and he took all of his gear and threw it in the river of this bridge. And then no one saw Andy Moe for like 15 years. And he did a walkabout where he was like a tango instructor.
Not to this degree. Yeah.
He wrote for a paper in Alabama. He became a furniture maker. I think that's what he does now.
Yeah.
In Oregon. So I found this story on what's the Princeton newspaper?
Princetonian, the Daily Princetonian.
Yeah. So I found that there's a headline. I think it's Andy Moe is not dead. was the headline, and I was like, this guy is my hero. I need to somehow get in touch with him. And to keep it short, I did get in touch with him. We're chatting back and forth, but he's a very interesting man. It was kind of so cool that came full circle. I got to share that, what I spoke with you about, being him in the backyard.
Well, to your point, I mean, first of all, I think all the Syracuse faithful that listen and watch this, that you're imitating Andy Moe in the backyard as opposed to the countless Cuse players that you could have picked, is just, they're going to they're going to die a little death. But I think like that era, to your point, had like such big characters, right? Like, and just, it just littered, like, and the same way that you think about Andy Moe, there was a flag football team. I think it was the year before I got there, and it was named in Brian Soliday's honor. Brian Soliday, and he had like a very distinctive style. I'm not sure exactly, but like the entire like flag football team at Princeton had shirts made up with like his number and like his like backwards hat or sideways hat or something. Like I'm blanking on exactly what it was, but like the mutual respect that like, oh, you like Andy Moe. We were all big Brian Soliday fans, Spenny Wright, right? Like there's so many guys that like. That like back and forth, it was like, oh yeah, I know that guy, like, and there was an admiration there for sure.
You talk about like the style of guy. You obviously had a really unique style. I think there's great players, right? You talk about like CJ Kurse being a generational talent, but you were like truly like changed the game and did things that no one else had ever done, the front flip and certain things. Did you use that like stylistically knowing what defender you're going against? Was that your scout? Was like, I know stylistically what I need to do against this guy? Or were you just like, I'm going to play my game, I'm going to do things my way?
He didn't give a shit about who was covering him. I'm saying maybe one guy a year. Maybe it was like maybe two.
Well, I was lucky. Because I played on such good teams that like which looking back now, I was able to win awards my first couple of years. Got attackman of the year as a freshman. I wasn't even the best attackman on my team. So, I mean, I had Josh Kaufman was a junior at that point, and he was being covered by the best defenseman on the other team. So I was drawing the second guy. So it's things like that I look back on. I'm like, that doesn't feel right. I wasn't even the best attackman on my team, and they're telling me I'm the best in the country. But I think I have, to answer your question, Mitch. It is a style thing, and I never changed the way I played based on a scouting report or anything. I always approached every game like, I think this doesn't come from an ego standpoint. It's just purely competitive. But if you're on the field, you have to believe that you're the best player that's ever played. If you don't have that mentality, it's not going to go good. And you walk off the field and you realize that you're not, but still, you approach the game that way. That mindset is important. But stylistically, my whole college career, it took coaches a long time to understand that the guys that can cover me well are not the big meathead dudes.
Yeah.
Like I was always the smallest guy on the field, and they would put the big bruiser on me, and I was like, yes, This is great. And they would throw a billion checks, and I loved it. And then, got into, since we're talking about it, Damian Davis, like he'd throw like 3 checks a game.
Yeah. And
I would struggle because he would run with me. And, people didn't really pick up on that.
Well, it's funny. I think the first time I ever met you, I had one style anecdote. Can I get my story?
Yeah, fine.
I think the first time I think I met you, Mike, we actually scrimmaged up in Cuse. I think it was Team USA getting ready for 2006. So it must have been like some point in 2006. I don't know if you were there. You must not have been there, Rye. But it was like a group of like some Syracuse guys, some Cornell guys. But we played against Team USA, and I think I got to cover you, and I was like so jacked up. I'm like, this is, and I just remember being like, I like jitterbug guys because I don't throw checks. I wasn't like a heavy slapper, and I'm sure you had your 2-1. Like Ryan would remember.
Are you inviting on a guest and telling him you shut him down?
No. but I just remember being like this guy's unbelievable, but also like I'm like maybe I can hang, and I think this was going into my senior year when I had a lot of success, and I was like, okay, if I can stick around with Mikey Powell at least to the degree that he's not slicing and dicing me, like maybe I can play defense at the NCAA level, because I'd switched from midfield to defense some time before this, so that definitely made a big positive impact on my career. I think being able to at least stay on the field with you, and then we got to work some camps with you and your brothers and get to know you a little bit more. But that was my first Mike Powell experience, and it was like so starstruck, but at the same time it was awesome playing against you, and that weird, like it was like a weird rainy, snowy Syracuse kind of day. We were outside on some back field.
Sounds like August.
Yeah.
Sounds like August.
So my style anecdote was this. Speaking of scout, right? So we had a scout team, obviously, to prepare our defense for any games. You're not like going to a guy and being like, "Hey, you're Mike Powell for the week," like good luck.
We tried. We
Right.
had some indigments.
Right. So we tried. Right. So we had this was a walk on from Cincinnati. Loved lacrosse. His name's John Robinson. He's a huge video game mogul right now. So he was Mike Powell for the week, and he like dove in. He like was huge, loved lacrosse, just dove in, like studied you, like your moves. He's method actor. So all of a sudden he's like studying you and practicing you and trying to be you, and we're like, J-Rob, like you're actually getting pretty good now. like within that week we were like, oh my God, like you're way better at lacrosse now. And it turns out that his senior year, he like ended up playing like significant minutes for us, had like an assist in a national semifinal game, like none of which would have been predicted as like the walk-on from Cincinnati. Imitated Mike Powell for a week, and like voila, like
That's amazing.
You're pretty good.
Mike Powell's school of attack.
I love that story. That's good.
So let's shift your role now creatively with Powell Lacrosse and with music. Kind of take the fans that are maybe the old school lacrosse Syracuse fans to how you went on this journey, and the diehard lacrosse were like, oh no, Mike's not playing pro lacrosse, but clearly for you there was another path that you were excited about pursuing. Can you talk a little bit?
And you got a huge show coming up, Badlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't
Borderlands. I'm sorry. I always. Badlands is in
Badlands is in like South Dakota.
No, it's a festival.
God.
It's a different.
Before we go there, Mitch, I knew we were doing this call. Obviously, are you familiar with this book?
Oh boy. Oh yeah.
No.
You're not?
I'm not. No.
Oh, John McPhee. Yeah.
Who is this guy? RB.
John McPhee.
Yeah, I mean he's from Princeton. He went to Princeton.
He was a professor there. He was a lacrosse like advisor, like academic advisor. Yeah. So he would come to broadcasts. So I developed a relationship with him for a little bit, post collegiately, not while I was there. And anytime I did a game there, he and I were going back. This is when I was writing for like USA Magazine and stuff. Like I would kind of go back and forth with my articles, and because he's an accomplished writer. And Anish, was like obsessed. It was way more into literature than the three of us. Was like obsessed with him, and so we would have him to the broadcast. And this, like there's that spare headset, and so I'd be like, can we get a headset for John McPhee? And they'd be like sure, whatever. And like normally you show up and it's like PXP for the play-by-play, analyst for the analyst, and the spare, instead of saying spare, would say John McPhee, and he would come and put the headsets on, and they would just like close his mic, and he'd watch the games that I would be broadcasting from the booth, so that he could listen in on the TV call while he watched the game.
That's wild. I was at a Barnes and Noble, and just picked this book up because of the cover.
Stop it! Stop it!
Swear, honest to God, picked it up. I loved the cover, and I opened it up in Barnes and Noble, and I'm like, reading through it, and there's a chapter in here that says spin right, shoot left.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? And then I go 2 pages in, and your name's in there. Yep. I'm like, what is happening?
It's like the Truman Show.
Yeah. And then my name is in there. and it just says, Mike Powell is short, white, and sensational. But anyways, he mentions in here, the reason I wanted to bring it up, he mentioned a Gilman clear.
Yeah.
What's the Gilman clear?
Heard that? When you just chuck it.
Never in my life.
You just chuck it. So think of your defense has the ball, if they're in trouble or not, and we don't think we can just clear the ball cleanly, either with a run out or through stick work.
Gilman it.
Just heave it to the other end.
Never heard of that.
Make it to Carthage, huh?
But I mean, is it a drawn up play, or is it something you just do if you have to?
It's a punt.
The latter. Punt. It's a desperation move. Yeah. Just
gotcha.
Just Gilman it. Just throw it to the other end, and Mike Powell will come up with the ground ball, or Brian Nee will come up with the ground ball, and then feed Mike Powell for the game-winning goal.
Those Syracuse teams didn't have issues clearing because every one of them had such confident sticks. They were throwing behind the back.
Yeah, Rick Beardsley's throwing behind the back Gilman's. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you for clearing that up for me. Yeah, because I read he talked about the Gilman clear a bunch in this chapter.
Oh, I've never heard of it. He's got another where he writes about lacrosse, the lacrosse recruiting landscape. This is like pre kind of Moneyball, pre analytics of just how old school.
Did he write a long New Yorker article about lacrosse? I feel like I have read his stuff now.
Yeah, I mean he's an incredibly accomplished writer, professor, academic that just loves lacrosse.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that question. Now I'm gonna answer yours, Mitch. I'm working with my brothers at Powell Lacrosse, and took over as creative director 3 years ago. I stepped away from the business for a while, and got back into it. And it's nice to step away from something and come back to it fresh.
Yeah.
And I've taken over the stick designing side of the business, which for me, even after college, I worked for Brine. And had an equipment line, but it was I gave them ideas, and then they brought it back and said, what do you think of this sort of thing? I was not involved in the day-to-day. So, I'm really enjoying that side of things, of learning more about how these sticks can be made better and cooler. And, that's been the real fun part for me. And I have my first stick line coming out here pretty soon. So excited. It awakens the kid in you again, when you're 10 years old saying to yourself, oh man, this dyed stick is so cool. It's got or you're waiting 6 months for Allman to send you your head. It awakens all those feelings of the fun, design elements around the game, and, anything that gives players a little more confidence playing is awesome.
Well, you said 10 years old. I don't know if you are in charge of the Powell Lacrosse commercials that ran during the NLL. Was that kind of your vision? Because you nailed the 8-year-old contingent. My 8-year-old is he would watch all the NL games, and then he would be like, I gotta have a Powell stick. He's I need a Powell stick. And we use the Powell custom stick customizer. Him and my 6-year-old both got Powell sticks. They're so, I mean, and they used every color you guys have in the palette, so they look quite interesting. But it was incredible.
Yeah, that was Dan Stessen. I'm not sure if that name rings a bell for you guys, but he played D-Midi at Syracuse. but he went on to live in Los Angeles for a long, long time and had directed and wrote a show called Dream Corp for Adult Swim. It was kind of this psychedelic comedy that went in between real film and rotoscope, so kind of that illustrative thing. So I contacted him and said, hey, I know you love lacrosse. I love your mind. Could you maybe come up with something that gives the feeling of when you grab that lacrosse stick for the first time, like what happens to your body? Because there is like this feeling of when you first spin a stick for the first time, and you're like, holy shit, it stayed in there. I love this game. It's my favorite game ever. So he came up with that commercial for us. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Well done.
And where are you playing in terms of musically? I said Badlands instead of Borderlands. I mean, it's an incredible. Tell us more about kind of where you're going to be on tour coming up.
I now that I have 2 kids, I stay pretty local.
Yeah.
And so we play a lot around the Northeast. But yeah, the Borderlands is going to be a big one this summer, and it's festival season. So we've jumped on a bunch of local festivals around the Northeast, and I just have so much fun playing music, guys. It's like, I don't know, it's just I have no like drive to be anything or any of that. It's just like some guys golf, some guys fish. I play music, like that's my thing. So like to be able to do it and play in front of people is like super fun and kind of scratches that itch that you have as an old athlete that used to, try and make the crowd scream by doing something athletically. I can't do that anymore. So I try and do it in other ways. But yeah, the music stuff's fun.
Do you feel a crossover? Do you get that, say you talk about scratching that itch, do you get the same, like, all right, I'm going to try something new, I want to try something different, and then you try it and people respond to it? Is that kind of the same feeling that rises up in you when something goes well versus when you maybe drop it or you don't nail it and you're like, okay, I got to go back and keep practicing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different, to be honest with you. For me, with music, I don't have the confidence that I had in sports. That thing I just described, you got to go out on the field and feel like you're the greatest. I've never had that feeling with a guitar in my hand.
I'm better than Jimi Hendrix. Let's do this.
That's how you end up in a local bar when you're, 80 years old playing the same set. But the most interesting part for me with music and art in general is with athletics. There's rules, obviously. There's end lines. There's strategy to it that's proven to be effective. And you can walk away. It's easy to measure how you did.
Yeah.
Right? But when I leave these shows, I'm like, I have no idea if people liked that or if they will never see me ever again. Or, there's things like people might come in and might hate folk music or rock music or, and then like they immediately don't like you. And then they might have gotten a fight in the car on the way into your show. So they're bringing that in to the experience. So there's so many of these variables that can mess with someone's experience to your music, something that comes from like your purest self. And that's like the exciting part about it for me is that unknown. Yeah. It's kind of like you're literally, I say this to myself, you're doing this for you. Like you have to, this is for you.
Well, that's we're excited to maybe catch a Mike Powell on the Echoland show soon, Echo Sound show soon, and just really it's been awesome talking lacrosse and non-lacrosse with you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys thinking of me. Like I said, I don't get to do these very often anymore, so We appreciate it. Good to talk about the old days. And yeah, I do get to hear about some of these the new kids on the scene. CJ Kirst, I got to watch him play a little bit, and seems like a really great kid, and obviously awesome player. And when is the game? When is the Princeton-Syracuse game?
We both have to. Well, no, that's not. Princeton-Syracuse is Saturday at 2:30.
Saturday at 2:30.
Yeah, this
on
Saturday.
Long Island?
What's that?
On Long Island. Is that where the game is?
Yeah, and then Cornell plays before against Richmond at Short as well at noon. So I'm potentially going to go down to that. Debating.
Okay.
So when the winner of Princeton and Syracuse will play the winner
of Maryland Georgetown.
Oh, okay.
And they play in Annapolis on Sunday.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
cool.
Quarterfinals, and not the Final Four, but we'll take a quarterfinal matchup with the Orange. You know.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it was great.
Still one of my favorite goals ever is Hartopolis in 2002. That lefty underhand thing.
Well, you and him, like, he's a musician, he's a creator. Yep. You and him, like, were kind of like kindred spirits, I would say. I mean, obviously we have our kind of relationship, but like to your point about stylistically, like when I got a chance to play with you, it was like I knew how to play with you because I'd played with Sean, even though you were like, he was a lefty, kind of more of a gunslinger, and you did your thing. Like I was like, okay, like I know how to like adapt to this personality based off of like knowing Sean so well, and then it's like, okay, I know how to play with you because of him, like because of like that flair, that creativity.
Not because you throw him the ball and he'd score every time. beat his man one-on-one and find the open man. It had nothing to do with that. He could shake his defender to the court every time. That wasn't it.
I'm just saying it was like the whole thing, just not just on the field but off the field, and how those two things, at least for me, in like my best teammates, that was like a very blurry line. Like especially as an attack unit, like there was like I think blurry lines between how you were on the field and how you were off the field, and like there was a lot of crossover, I would say, and that gets into like more the spiritual side of the game, I think. But I always thought that there was like a strong connection that could be made that would carry over.
Yeah, no doubt. You got to check out that one goal I'm talking about, Mitch.
We'll get producer Andrew to splice it into the footage.
Yeah,
the
Bull Durham thing was unbelievable. The thing you did during Doc's episode was so good.
Which one?
I loved it so much. You spliced in the clip from was it Bull Durham? Is that the?
Oh yeah.
That was the best. That made me laugh so hard. It just came out of nowhere and like popped in. I was like,
that's producer Andrew. That's producer Andrew.
He's gonna have a tall task finding all your clips to fit into these.
Yeah.
He'll have plenty to pick from. And now you're giving him homework assignments with Sean Hartopolis.
There we go. Yeah. There we go.
He's gonna go deep into the archives tonight.
Awesome. Well, you guys look great. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. And we're doing some cool stuff together, which I'm excited about too. So looking forward to chatting with you guys a heck of a lot more.
Absolutely.
But best to your families, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too. Yeah, you got
looks
some
like your family's peeking in, so you got
Yeah. This is Kenny.
Hi.
What's up, Kenny? How you doing?
Old friends of mine.
Oh, hi.
We're just saying goodbye.
Nice Powell
Thank
shirt
you.
there.
Bye.
You got any jokes? Could you end on a joke? End the show with a joke?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Talk to you.
See ya.
Bye. Ryan Boyle, Mitch Belisle, who cares about us? We got Hubby, we got Jesse Hubbard, the legend, the icon, the human.
Ivy Player of the Year.
No, the human. He knows it.
That's 3 times All-American.
Human's a Hubby line that I just borrowed, but that's a Hubby original.
Recent second all-time leading scorer in Princeton history for all-time, but I'm sure you're excited for the Princeton boys.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't care. We were texting about it.
Well, Coulter was, when Jerry Price, Princeton's sports information director, did an article, I think Coulter was like 7 away going into, I think, the Penn game.
Oh, right.
So, he could explode for 7. It's possible. But I was thinking he'd probably get, 3 or 4 and then maybe beat it against Yale last regular season game. And then everyone would just get over it and stop bugging me about it and bugging him about it because he wants to focus on. But I feel like he's having a lot of assists. These other guys are getting shots. I think he had 2 goals, and then he had 1 against Cornell that tied it. And then so going into Towson, so they kept putting my picture up with him, and I was like, "Who's this old guy?" But I don't know. I felt like, obviously, I'm happy for Coulter. I'm happy for the team, and I think for him it might have been a distraction. So I'm just glad that he finally got past that and can focus on the team stuff.
It had a longer tail than anybody would have imagined.
Your headshot from like not playing days came up every week for 4 straight weeks on the ESPN.
I know. I didn't know what. I think to get a photo from my playing days, you'd probably have to scan it. Like they're not digitized. You got to get John Hess's dad, Brad, he's got the negatives. You have to print one out and scan it.
Gotta get rent a dark room.
Yeah.
CBS.
So, as we were leading up to this call, Mitch was like, "Oh, well, how did you cross over with hubby?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, and he's like, "Well, did you play with each other professionally?" And I was like, "No," which is still one of my biggest playing career regrets. Not that I had control over it, kind of per se, but the fact that we did never get the chance to kind of play together. But then Mitch was like, "Well, then how are you close with him?" Or how do you not how do you know him, but why are you And I'm like, I just think back, and I'm so thankful for the program itself. But then I think specifically, your class and your era. I grew up watching, Hess, Hubbard, Massey is hallowed ground, right? To me, it's the best attack unit of all time. And my formative years, it was this is how it's supposed to all fit together. And then I never, now that I'm an adult, I didn't I don't know if I took it for granted, but when I was in college, you guys would come back, right? And I have such distinct memories of the alumni game. But then even post collegiately, being able to develop a relationship with you and the entire unit. But I think it just speaks volumes about the tradition and the culture. But beyond all that, it's more just about who you are and and your ability to give back and get involved. I guess what was that like? You've graduated, but you're no, I'll still go back. I'll still get to know people. Was it still just a connection to the program, or were there micro links that just older guys that you knew better that would be hubby, you got to come back?
Yeah, I think when we played, my older brother Andy was on the team,
right?
So he for 3 years prior, I kind of followed Princeton Lacrosse with my dad, and we went to all the games. So we were at Franklin Field in '92, and then Byrd Stadium in '94. My older brother won 2 championships, and then my freshman year he was a senior, and so I knew all the older guys. And then after guys, even Justin Cordolani and all those guys, they would come back. Kevin Lowe supporters, they'd come back in the fall, even do football tailgates, which was fun. And then it was part of the thing. Recent grads usually would come back, especially it's fun going back and watching your former teammates.
Yeah.
I'm very tight with the guys, the year below me and 2 years below me. And even Mollett, Brian Mollett was a freshman when I was a senior, but we're super tight. So it's fun going and watching your former teammates play the next few years. And then obviously we were very excited to hear that, Ryan Boyle was coming in and kind of continuing that legacy of the quarterback with Kevin Lowe winning 2 championships, 92, 94, John Hess, quarterback winning 96, 97, 98 with Massey and me. And then Ryan Boyle, that was you and Massey, that was a match made in heaven. And then, you got yours. So, you take pride when you're alma mater is still competing at the highest level. And I mean, that's why like these days, and Mitch with Cornell and us with Princeton, it's just great seeing these guys experience high level competition, playing in May, and it's a different game, and they got their own culture, but it's fun to see them have the same kind of experiences that we have. I don't go back to as many games now just because I'm busy with kids and stuff. And there's so much on TV now. It's easy to watch from afar. But yeah, I mean, Coach Madelon has the culture right at Princeton, Coach Busick at Cornell. Like there's some great lacrosse all over the place. And Dan Shamati at Richmond. Like this weekend is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, you played with Shamati on the Pride, right? New Jersey Pride days.
Yeah. Dan and I were teammates. I was fired up when he got that Richmond job. I mean, he's built that program from nothing. And it's all school supported because you don't have the alumni base, and maybe that makes it easier. I don't know. Like he's got fewer people in his ear telling him what to do. Back, yeah. But and yeah, he's done an amazing job, and his coaching staff, the culture down there. But yeah, Ryan, to answer your, I guess, question about like how we got to know each other. We were both playing MLL for a while against each other. We'd see each other. We both lived in New York City, so we caught a couple shows together. Had some good times. But I do remember playing with you at the Princeton alumni game one year. I think you were probably still playing MLL. I was definitely done, but I was just hanging out on the crease, and I'm like, I look behind the goal, and RB's got the ball. Like maybe I'll just cut. And I just cut, and the ball was in my stick, and I was just like, goal. And I think we did it like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh man, like it would have been great playing with, you like in the MLL. My first 2 years I was playing with John Hess in the MLL.
Right.
Like people forget that. Like Hess was the leading, like he retired from the MLL, being the leading assist guy. I think it was 3 years actually. I think he had like 100 assists in 3 years, and then he got busy with his real job. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if somehow I was able to get on that barrage dynasty that you had, I mean, you had a fabulous attack with Mike Springer and BJ, but if I somehow found my way down the turnpike, that would have been fun.
You were lucky enough to get to be on the Riptide men.
Oh my!
Yes. Oh yeah, the
Riptide. That
was a great way to go out.
Wes Green. Mitch Belisle, JJ Morrissey, just household names.
GW, he did it right. The LA Riptide I played my last season. I got traded out to the LA Riptide before they folded, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a blast. I mean, Spencer Ford, Michael Watson, Terry Reardon, and then we drafted Kevin Huntley, lefty, Rip from Hopkins, and so I think I had my most assists ever on that Riptide team because I was kind of like more of like a feeder, like setup guy, and I would just fling it across the field to Kevin Huntley, and he would just rip it from like 15. I was like, if you have a shooter, maybe assisting is easy. Just pass the ball to the guy, let him rip. So I was on the other end of that.
It's not doing that much work actually.
Yeah, I don't have to shoot. I don't have to get dumped 5 seconds after I shoot.
The Riptide team is like reminiscent of like when MLS takes like old timers from like the Premier League. They're like, oh, you're washed. Come play. You get another like two or 3 years here in the MLS. Like,
did Massey play with us for a couple years?
No.
Did he? No. I was on a team with Massey for
Massey was on the Riptide before I got there.
He was. Yeah.
What?
I think Hardo. I think Hardo and Lorne.
They were.
Lauren Smith and Sean Hartopoulos.
Lauren was there. I never overlapped with Hartopoulos. He must have been the year because they were around for 06, 07, and 08. And I came in
3 years.
And then 08 we played together, and then they folded after 08.
Yeah, I mean, on paper it was Spencer Ford, Michael Watson, Terry Reardon. And like when I got there, I had to play some midi because those guys are. But and then the best was Mike Allen, our assistant coach, who was like running the offense and the man up. He was my teammate at Princeton, so it was a lot of fun. I commuted from New York to LA, as did a lot of guys. Like we would come in, everyone would come in from everywhere. We'd have the practice, and we'd have those late night like meals at like 1 a.m. our time, and then sleep all day, playing the game Saturday night, and then there was an East Coast contingency that would contingent that would they would literally shower right after the game. We'd run,
You'd take a red eye, wouldn't you?
Get a ride to the airport, take the red eye. So I would wait. I'd be like, it'd be like 7, 8 a.m. and I'd be back in bed in New York on Sunday morning after playing Saturday night in LA. And at the time I was engaged, and we'd like go out. We'd like have a nice Sunday fun day in New York. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was all worth it though. That was a great group.
Those are good days. Yeah, the Redondo Beach Cafe. I think if it's
that's the place.
The doors are still open. They still got a Riptide jersey up on the wall. I went there a couple years ago and they still had it up.
Yeah, A-Train was one of the leaders. Vice, yeah, those guys. Great to see A-Train in the PLL.
Yeah, he's going to do, I think, great things with the Redwoods. But I want to go back to the alumni game because I have other memories of playing against you when we were on the team, and there was kind of like an unwritten code of like the current team can't lose to the alums, right? but then like when the current team like looks across and like it's like Hubby and his peers, it's like this isn't looking so good for the current squad, and we might have lost to you one year, or we were losing, and Coach T, it was like the fourth quarter, and he was like, all right, bring in the reliever. And Cookie Krongard, they put him in to close. Rest in peace, Cookie.
Yeah.
Who played at the alumni game
He was like in his 70s.
Yeah, in his 70s. He was on the Pride 1 year and tried out.
He was amazing.
So
he actually tried out for the Pride
so
MLL.
We were losing, and then Coach T
was pissed that he didn't make it.
This was at like well into his 60s, right?
Yeah,
then for the Pride.
Yeah.
Probably 60s.
But we were losing, and the team was like, all right, put in Cookie so we could go on a little bit of run. And then like that night, that's when I was living off campus, and it was like, next thing I know, I'm like rubbing shoulders with you and Mass and Hess, and it's like totally organic, totally natural, and like I'm always forever grateful for that moment and for that memory of just being able to like interact with you guys is like in my head at that point is like a peer as opposed to like somebody that's like, watching you on TV or going to one of the games and like studying you and have this this hallowed revere like nature to being like no we're like you're in the mix. Like,
you got to see the Hubbard weirdness firsthand.
That's
yeah. I mean, like I said, I got to know all the guys 5, 6, 7 years like older than me from going back, and yeah, you realize like a lot of these players are amazing players, but they're very humble, they're very relaxed. And Princeton Lacrosse has got kind of an unwritten code of self-deprecating humor and humility. And I mean, it was the system. Like we came in after 2 championships. Coach T had his defensive system, Massey had the offensive system, and we were fortunate that we just were a part of it. And then it went on with you. And so it wasn't about, and then when you win championships, you obviously attract more talent. So we had very talented teams, but the system and the coaches are what won the championships. But the players, we just had to do our jobs.
I would push back on that a little bit. I think that you had to have guys that could both run the system and then break the system, and then go outside the system and break the system when necessary.
You're probably speaking for yourself. We tried not to break it, but no, you. It may have gotten stale by the time you were there, so I think you and Massey maybe had to mix it up, and Hardo was always doing his thing as a shooter. And you're right, actually Massey was always the guy that like if the plays didn't work, if John couldn't like just shake his guy right off the dodge, and if I wasn't getting open and our plays weren't really working, our set plays and picks, Massey would just be like, give me the ball and just dodge the slide and dive and score. And we're like, okay, that's good, that'll work. And then we do it again and again. So yeah, you're right. There definitely has to be some creative stuff on the field and some guys who just need to make plays.
And to Mitch's point about you being a weirdo, I also thought that the hallmark of the program was just a bunch of weirdos. Like I don't think that people from the outside looking in understand just like how weird some of the guys were. I don't know if some names come to mind in terms of like.
Well, I'm looking at a Inside Lacrosse cover behind you of Matt Strebel. I mean, that class. Matt Strebel, Ryan Mollett, Trevor Tierney, Rob Cordy, like those, I mean, weird, but also just like unique personalities. Yeah. But everyone was very competitive in their own way, and weirdly, perfectionist. And I feel like Princeton had the right combination of like individuals who held themselves to an extremely high standard. And that type of personality is often weird to outsiders, but then also they knew how to kind of, be a part of something larger. Mm. And so it wasn't just guys trying to do their thing all the time. It was like, okay, they understand the larger system, but they're so competitive and that they want to be a big part of that. Like they want to contribute to that system and not kind of go out too much. That was my take. I mean, we relied on each other. I mean, watching and being on the field with John Hess and Chris Massey, I was so impressed with all the stuff they could do because I couldn't do what they did. Yeah. And then if I took a shot from 15 yards out, they'd be like, "Whoa, dude!" And so it was just like we appreciated each other's game, and we meshed so well together. I mean, I as a lacrosse player, like I couldn't have dreamt to play with like two better teammates. I'm sure if we had played together, we would have created all sorts of magic as well. But you did that with some other guys and won all sorts of. You won your college national championship, and then I don't know how many MLL championships did you have? 3, 4? 4. Yeah, I mean, so you guys had a great system. That barrage, then garbage. Like you guys had your system down.
Well, you think looking at like teams now and how athletic guys are, how much like looking at the Princeton team, looking at like the Cornell team, and some of these groups that have just like, these unbelievable, the Coulter Maxies and the CJ Curse, like how much of that is just one guy taking over the game versus system based? Are we getting more to like, all right, system is a system, but when you got a head and shoulders above, or do you think you still had that and that's what the Massey provided, or the who else did you talk about in your era that was like the kind of go off script, maybe you off script a little bit? And
Hardo.
Yeah. Hardo. Hardo was the guy.
Yeah, you need that. You need the element of surprise too, because I mean, if you're playing just as the other team has scouted you, then you're easier to stop. Sometimes you need some guys. I mean, the clip of Mollett that they played. Like somehow Mollett got a loose ball. Mollett's roaming on offense. Cutting. He brings it down on the clear, and he's like, "I'm not going off. Like I'm hanging out." Yeah. And somehow the ball ended up loose behind the goal against Towson in that semifinal game. He gets it, and instead of like throwing it to an attackman and running off the field, he like posts up and then drives lefty from X. And the amazing thing is they slid off Harto to a long stick. And so Hardo has that shot. I mean, that's in what I laughed for like 10 minutes after I saw that live. Like that was just absurd.
Oh, I remember in the moment, it was like, I think there's a box fake in there. It was like, oh, this dude's just gonna win this game. Like this, like systems, not about the X's and the Joes, but the Jims and Joes. It's like, no, this is just like the best player, the eventual number one pick in the draft. That like he's just like I'm gonna win this game right now. I'm gonna will this game. Yeah, like I'm gonna completely will this game.
I just feel like there's more players now.
If they hadn't slid off it, if they hadn't slid to him, he probably would have come around and scored.
Probably. Oh, knowing Mollett, of course. Like, I want the glory. Like, I'm going to win this game. Like, I'm going to finish.
He forgot he had a long stick for a second because, I mean, his freshman year, he came in like in high school. He was a short stick two-way midi.
Yeah.
And his freshman year, he was on the practice man down squad, and we couldn't run any plays because he would pick off all the skip passes with his short stick. And it got annoying where like Massey had to be like, Ryan, like just let us run the play. Like we gotta get this done. His ability to pick off passes, and then late his freshman year, my senior, I mean Ryan was like he was literally filming the games. Like his freshman year. Like he was not seeing any time. Not surprisingly, we were loaded. But
he's gonna be like, why didn't you?
But yeah, I think Coach T was like, this guy could be one of the best long poles, long stick middies, and close D guys because he was smart, athletic, competitive, had a good stick, and he ended up being defenseman of the year. That's insane. Like that story itself is crazy.
Same thing over here. I mean, started his career
I was an O-Midi. You know, I was an O-Midi.
O-Midi?
School. Say almost. It's funny you were saying that. Like almost exact same story. I never picked off a single pass my entire career, but my stick never got any better. But I did. I was able to play defense.
So you played freshman year of college. O-Midi, and then they elongated your stick for you?
It was a pretty quick send to the back line. It was like,
quicker transition.
Why don't you go play D-Midi? And then for fall ball, and then it was like, hey, why don't you pick up a long pole this offseason? So I had a long pole by spring of my freshman year. But same thing, I didn't dress probably 3 or 4 games my freshman year. Didn't play a single second, so I might have a 5th year of eligibility somewhere in there. But then just based on needs, ended up starting my sophomore year. And it was just kind of like a missile because we had 2 good cover guys, so I was just the slide guy, and I would just go and try to blow people up. And then junior and senior year, learned how to actually play defense.
Did the other long poles accept you into their brotherhood?
They did. We had some strange characters. We had Casey Stevenson, who was from Ithaca Townie, and then we had Kyle Georgalis, now assistant coach at Army, who's like the strong silent type. So I didn't get there wasn't a lot of talking going on back there, at least not between the whistles. And but they were great. They were awesome. And Ryan McClay took me under his wing big time. We never overlapped, but my parents lived near him. So in the summer, I would go and work out with him, and he basically trained me to be a defender in the off season, and then DeLuca would work with me during the season. So basically, I'm a combo of Ryan McClay and Ben DeLuca, kind of my two big defensive mentors.
Yeah. Ryan McClay he came into the Pride as a rookie my second or third year, and he was amazing. He got every ground ball, such good stick work, such good fundamentals. So that's a good guy to learn from. Princeton actually had some other guys who they short sticks that they gave long poles to, and I won't name him, but there was this one guy that Coach T gave him a long pole. And he went to do the line drills with the long sticks, and they refused to pass him the ball. So they were like, no, he's not part of our group. So he would just run through the line drill and just not getting passes. But he would still run back and forth. They would just skip him. I was curious if something like that may have happened to you.
No, I didn't get hazed quite that bad. But
this is what you get with hubby.
That's amazing. What'd you do at practice?
Well, listen, me, I'm not a long
from one cone to another, jog back and forth.
Do you want to tell the origin story of the Hubby Express?
Well, actually, do you know about my Princeton lacrosse hat collection?
No.
I brought a couple. The vintage lacrosse hats have become a thing. I don't know if you see a lot of the Princeton guys are wearing these things, but my dad, who, like I said earlier, my older brother was at Princeton, before I was. So my dad basically spent a decade going to Princeton games, and at the U store, the university store, and any other place, H. Gross, some other stores, if he saw a hat that had Princeton or Tiger and lacrosse, he bought it no matter what, no matter how ugly or whatever. And so yeah, I discovered about 200 hats in the basement of my dad's house. But some of the cool, and I've given a lot of them away at the events at the Final Four, our reunions. I put some out, and guys grabbed them for their kids. And I didn't realize, but the vintage Lax guy, Ryan, was, he would post these old stuff, and the current team got really excited about these vintage hats. And I had no idea, so I sent them a bunch, and but the cool ones, some of the ones I saved are this is a bright one. Oh, but these little game hats. But
that's a clean classic.
But they put the championship years.
This is you're a very good guy at giving it to people that really appreciate it. You could have monetized this out the wazoo. These are mint condition.
No, we're not selling. We're not selling the stuff
that. Is
but it's
cool. That's
wow, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff is this was like very close to just like going to Goodwill, which would have been a shame. But this one's kind of, I mean, you get kind of cocky, and a lot of these the parents like made themselves, the ones with the years. But like you got all these years, you got national champs cube. I mean,
That's the most
talk about
Princeton thing
Princeton
ever.
nerds.
That's the most Princeton thing ever. Cubed.
I don't believe it is cubed. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean,
multiplying it works, but
I don't think it's quite cubed. It might be cubed in their experience. I mean, the parents had more fun than we did, all the tailgates and stuff. But looking back, I mean, seriously, like I'm about to turn 50, and like looking back at these hats and like just like 3 national championships in a row is like, it's like preposterous. Like each year in the playoffs, like one ground ball, one call, like one play, like we could easily have 0.
One twisted ankle, one, I mean, like just to not have a major injury, or maybe you did. No, you definitely did. Christian Cook.
We going there?
Yeah.
We're not.
Yeah,
Mitch
the
knows.
classic game hat. These were big. The
Mitch
brand, the game. Remember those?
Oh, yeah,
those were huge.
Mitch knows about the text thread, hubby.
Unbelievable. Best story I've heard in ages.
So yeah, the 96. But it's just these things are.
He's not even listening.
What was the text thread?
What do you mean? What was the text
Cookie
thread?
Which text thread?
Cookie Puss 2.0.
Oh, that. I mean, there's so many. I mean, the Coulter record thing. Like, I mean, we always have our normal text banter, but I got a lot of texts from like friends and people that I don't text a lot, and they're like, you're still my favorite. He's got the shot clock and all that. They're like kind of like they're like consoling me after Coulter broke the record. I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, this is good stuff. Like, we want him to break the record. It's a sign that Princeton's getting really good recruits and they're playing well. So, I mean, the crazy thing is like there's guys on the team now that could break Coulter's record. Like they got some serious scores. And the shooting last weekend against Towson was insane. I think Kabiri and Tucker Wade, I think they shot like 83%, and they were like sniping from outside. And Burns like was up there. I mean, yeah, it's fun to watch these guys. Cornell is also fun to watch, Mitch. I must say
he's had his moment. He's had his other
CJ Kurtz, like that guy. He could fill it up.
He's already had his podcast.
He's an all-time great.
Have we had a Cornell guest? Yeah, I don't think we have.
Well, you had the draft and all that stuff. Hubby, I've never heard your take on this. Part of the, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but part of the lore is he's like, I'm out.
Sorry. No, I'm good.
I'm
gonna have to get some power.
There's growing up, there was that iconic photo, became a poster that every kid had, or was in every lacrosse dad's office, of you shooting behind the back, left-handed, I might add, left-handed behind the back against Hobart in like the mud. You know exactly the shot I'm talking about, yes?
Yeah, definitely.
When did you know that, like, I mean, you're playing, you score it, you move on to the next play. I'm sure you didn't give 2 thoughts about it except like, wow, that was sick. That was lefty behind the back. But like, when did you know or become aware that like it was a thing?
A meme before memes were memes.
Yeah. Well said.
You mean the photograph itself?
Yeah.
The poster?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. That was like the muddiest game I've ever played in up at Hobart. Like the ball got stuck in the mud like multiple times where they'd stop the game. And I think they didn't find the ball. They just had to get a new ball. They just were like, okay, like new ball. And it was the last game of the regular season. And, we had kind of secured a very good spot. I think back then you had the top 4 seats at a bye. But we still wanted to like go in the playoffs strong. And it was one of those games. It was like the conditions were so gross that like throw out all the scouting report stuff. But I kind of knew where I was cutting, and the defender just literally like when I cut, he just like slipped. So I had the advantage, and Hess was just was just gunning it in to the crease all game long. And so I think that was the game that I had the most goals ever in college. I had 8 goals in the Mud Bowl, and that was off the end line. And it was one of those things. I think it was actually righty. I don't know if they reversed the negative but and so I just like cut down. Hess, gave me the look and fired it in there, and I was losing angle, and the guy shoves me, and so I kind of like took the momentum of the shove. I knew I wasn't going to be able to shoot like across my body, getting shoved from behind. So I just like flung it behind my back, just desperation shot, and it actually like stuck lower left corner. And John's father, Brad, was like basically our team photographer, and so he got that, and he knew like what we were about to do. Like anything off the end line, John like looked for Chris or me, and so I think he was just ready for it. But obviously, that was a cool photo that I probably didn't see till like after the season. But then Bob Carpenter does like a poster series for Inside Lacrosse, and he picked that photo because Brad has supplied a lot of the early Inside Lacrosse content with his photos. And yeah, he made a bunch, and then I started seeing him pop up. So yeah, I think Bob put it in the book, and he came out with a bound like Inside Lacrosse book. So yeah, I'm happy that the ball went in and that it became a poster. It is pretty cool, but the mud was just insane. Like you can see like the poster, it's like, what is going on with this? How did they play?
The lost ball is incredible.
They're probably still balls like I think Hobart probably is a turf now, but there's probably balls underneath the turf.
Well, Hubby, I knew you were doing stuff with Warrior after college. I didn't realize how instrumental you were to a lot of the product development, like in the early years. And you basically, did you invent the blade, the face-off head? Was that your kind of design and concept?
Yeah, the blade, it was never a face-off head.
Right.
But, I came after I graduated. I graduated in 1998 from Princeton, and I had made the U.S. national team during the tryouts in '97, leading into my senior year. And Dave Morrow was on the national team. He was on the '94. He graduated in '93 from Princeton, so he was basically the founder of Warrior, and he made the titanium handles and all that stuff. And so in college, when I was in college, he was tinkering with gloves and heads and other products, and then he bid for the sponsorship for the '98 World Team, and so I got to know him a little bit just through Princeton, and I think I worked some of his camps while I was an undergrad out in Michigan, so I got to know him, and he realized like I was at camps like messing around with sticks that I knew a lot about stringing and heads and design. And he was a defenseman who played, he had a hockey background. So the stick for him was just like, a weapon, a club. And then, I think he used a rocket pocket, and he had a very like funny, like awkward upside down cradle. And he was like, oh man, you know a lot about like sticks and string. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of a lax rat, along with John Hess and Chris Massey. Like we all strung our own sticks. Hess strung like half the team sticks. We were very particular. And so he was like, I'm looking to make other products, would you want to come help me design stuff? And I was like, yeah, sounds good. And so we kind of talked a little bit, I think right after I graduated, but then during the like lead up to the World Games in summer of '98, all the club guys had to use Warrior. They had to use Warrior sticks. So these, like Rob Scheck's using the same like STX, whatever, like a high wall for probably like 4 or 5 years. And so Warrior sends all these heads, and all these guys are scrambling. And so I end up like stringing half the guys' sticks. And that's when Dave was really like, whoa, I was like, a lot about this stuff. And because I listened to what they said, like a guy would be like, I want a low pocket, or I want this and that. And so I'd string them up a certain way. And then basically the fall after that, he was like, why don't you come out and work for Warrior? And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. That's like a lax rat's dream job, to come out and then just have a guy who's innovative, aggressive from a business standpoint, trying to like innovate and grow the sport, be like design stuff. So he had started on the Revolution and the Evolution. The Evo was just like a great brand and has been around forever. I like finished those off, tweaking a little bit here and there. And then he had the idea of the blade kind of like inverting the sidewalls, making like the back wall narrower and the front open, because most sticks at the time were kind of slightly the opposite. The front was a little bit narrower than the back, to kind of hold that. The idea with the blade was to hold the ball in a particular place, and also for accuracy to have like a parallel channel. And now like all the heads are almost like parallel.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they come in and then they're parallel and then they open up. And so, yeah, so the blade, he kind of had the concept. I think it was, but that was the first stick that I designed, kind of from start to finish with his initial concept. And I agreed with it. But then, yeah, then it was a little too flimsy. Like I used it the first year of the MLL. Casey Powell used it. Like it was designed for an attackman, but it was a little flimsy. And then it just became like, once face-off guys figured out that they could plunge and get under, with how flimsy it was, but it wouldn't break, so it was like durable and flimsy. Then it became like a thing, and almost like 10 years after, I think.
Like a happy
and then
accident,
the mold,
like
like Alex Smith would buy them all up, and they were on eBay for like $500.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's amazing because I didn't realize, one, that you would come up with it, two, that it was not supposed to be a face-off stick, and then three, it became the most popular. It's like a McLaren of the face-off stick. It's amazing.
What's crazy though is I ran my own summer camps, and we'd give each kid a free head, and I didn't know exactly what they wanted. They may have put it on an order form, but like I would just get a bunch of like Evos, Revos, and blades. This is probably like 2003, 4, and we had so many blades. Blade kind of became less popular. The Evo Pro kind of took over, and then the Razor was actually the first head that I really designed from like start to finish based on the blade, but try to make it a little stiffer. And so I'd have like 40 unstrung blades that maybe like 10 kids at camp would want. And so at the end of the camp, the raffle, I would just be just 30 blades. Like, you want a blade? Just throwing blades at people.
It was like
and
you're
they're
giving
like,
away Bitcoin.
But they're like, these suck. And I mean, who knows what, those are probably the ones that end up on eBay. But I was like 5 years later, I was like, that's like a lot of money. That's a lot of value of blade that I was just couldn't get rid of.
Well, speaking of product design, I mean, professionally, you go from Warrior, and then now in terms of like you're taking care of people's equipment and making sure they've got everything they need from a protective standpoint, from a stick standpoint, and now it's hydration, and Motive Pure. We've used the product for years, and I think we were going back and forth, and like the biggest thing is. Remember a couple of years ago. That's exactly the story I was bringing up. We had a player from California, right? Oh, I'm used to the weather. I'm used to the heat. It's like, you're not used to swamp.
He was from Pebble Beach. He's from the nicest climate.
It's like, you're not used to swamp. It's like swamp. The Mid-Atlantic in July, it's just like oppressive humidity. You lose kind of every single, water that you have, nutrients that you have, electrolytes that you have. He's like just down. He is just down and out.
Oh man.
And then next thing you know, it's like we whip him up some Motive Pure, and it's like
he's back, baby.
It's like
we needed him too.
It's like he's revived. It's like he's revived from the dead. And his dad was like, What is this? Like, what did you give him? And it's like, this is why we have it.
That's a great story. And I feel the kid. I mean, I think I maybe mentioned it in an email, but we and I don't know if you remember, but we played the New Jersey Pride played the Barrage at Mercer County Park.
I know exactly the game you're talking about.
Day game.
Yes.
Mid-July.
Yes.
Like thick grass.
Yes.
I had just run my overnight camp the week prior, so you know what that's like. Yep. Like 5 days, like 4 nights of just camp.
Yeah.
So I'm coming into this game like Saturday. I think camp ended Friday morning. Saturday, it was like a noon game or something.
No locker rooms. The locker rooms were tense.
Yeah, no locker rooms. We're like under tents.
Mercer County Park.
I know, but what field did you use? Did you use the community college?
No.
No, they were running a
out of the
tournament.
tent. we just jumping in for a second. Our locker room was the tent. To be less hot, you had to leave the tent, which supposedly provided shade.
Greenhouse.
It was like I'm melting. You had to go out in the sun to leave the oppressive heat of the tent.
Yeah, it was brutal. Yeah, I think they had like one little field that had like some bleachers in the middle of this big youth tournament. Yeah, I think I was probably super dehydrated like before the game, just being out in that tent. But so we got killed as we normally did when we played you, but we got like really, you guys throttled us. It was ugly. And I'm going in my car after the game in the parking lot, and I start the ignition, and I'm like about to start driving, and I get really lightheaded, and I'm like, whoa, this isn't good. And so like, I don't know, I kind of just freak out, and I just get out of the car, and I collapse in the parking lot. And fortunately, my fiance was with me, so she like comes around, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know, like I can't drive, I don't feel so good. So we got hydration, we got home, like she drove obviously, but it got me thinking, like I was like, obviously I was dehydrated and like heat exhaustion or whatever. And then playing in the MLL, like you guys know, like you clean up your own locker room. We play at all different places, and we always had a sports drink deal. So there would always be like bottles of sports drink around. And my routine then was like, mostly drink a bunch of water, maybe like sip sports drink a little before the game, as much as I could before like getting full, and maybe like 2 or 3 sips at halftime. Yeah. And I started thinking, I'm like when we pick up these sports drinks, why are like almost all of them like a third full or half full? Because it's the sugar. Like you can't drink a lot of sports drinks because you have all that sugar, and you want a little bit of sugar. I used to eat bananas, but I was like, there's got to, and then I like started learning about electrolytes, and electrolytes was kind of like a buzzword, a marketing term the sports drink used, and like the movie Idiocracy like kind of mocks the idea of electrolytes, you know, it's what plants need or whatever. But you know, they're legitimate, and I learned that like the most important elements for life are air, water, and salt. Like you can go many weeks without food, but if you're like fasting, you need salt. Like within a day or two, like if you don't at least have salt with the water, you're going to be in trouble. And so I was like, I'm like, water's got no salt, normal, and the sports drinks have salt, but they also have all the sugar that I can't really drink. So I was like, we got to take the electrolytes like out of the sugary sports drink and just make it in a form that you can just add to water and then drink like water. So Motive Pure was what I came up with. It's a liquid concentrate. It has sodium and potassium in functional amounts with some magnesium and calcium that help you absorb the water, and they replace the electrolytes you lose when you sweat. But it doesn't have sugar. It's not about carbs. You can get carbs a million different ways, but it keeps Motive Pure is light enough to where you can drink it as you would otherwise drink water. And then you're getting water and electrolytes in balance. And so that was kind of like the genesis of the product. It took many years of tweaking, and that was a while ago. And we've grown mostly on online e-commerce, and Amazon's where a lot of people buy it, or our website. And then we have a lot of team sales. So I always like looking at like Division I men's lacrosse. I always look at like the tournament, like how many of those teams are using Motive Pure. And I think all D1, maybe it's like 25-30% of teams. And these aren't like sponsorships. They're buying Motive Pure for their athletes. And then come tournament time, it's usually like higher. It's usually like 50 or 60%. I think it's like 50% right now. Like 50% of the tournament teams, use or buy Motive Pure. And a lot of the colleges, they're not allowed to buy it. They have sports marketing deals with the big brands, and that's fine. But usually it's the coaches. The coaches are like, we need to get like what the kids want and what works. And so they just buy it. But we can't use the school's likeness, and so we don't really promote that, which is fine. But we just want to be there for the athletes.
Will you be in attendance, Stewart Stadium, this weekend?
I don't think I can't make Hofstra now. Like I said, I'm like, we got kids, and we don't like have like nanny or help. It's like, it's my wife and me. So we manage the kids. Are you calling it, Ryan?
No.
Which one are you doing?
Neither.
Oh, you're not. You don't.
No, I'll be most likely watching from home because we have a birthday party in the morning and then a dinner at night.
Yeah.
Maybe duck out, but that seems unlikely given just the family dynamic that you referenced and already having things on the books kind of thing.
Yeah. Mitch, you're going, right? Or
Contemplating similar family situation, trying to figure things out. But
you could take the boys.
I might take the boys.
You
We
just
might
take-
go. The whole family might go out. It's
Yeah.
just getting to Long Island from Jersey is a real trek. But
oh yeah,
it's almost like probably easier to go from Baltimore than it is.
totally. Yeah. It's just those bottlenecks around New York. They're just like, even if it's like not the time, it's just the slowness and just the stress.
Yeah.
Like you just want to be moving. When you're in a vehicle, you want to be moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're familiar.
So yeah, I don't miss the New York traffic. So Cornell, Richmond at noon, right?
Cornell, Richmond noon, followed by Princeton, Cuse, and then down in Annapolis on Sunday is which game's first? Is the Penn State game? Penn State Notre Dame noon, followed by Maryland, Georgetown.
Yeah, I was hoping the Princeton game might be at Navy, but they wouldn't do that. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, Hubby, you're so generous with your time. You can officially, this is hopefully the last media encounter that you'll have now that, like
people can finally forget about me. This record. No, people thought I was like going to be sad. They were like consoling me. I was like, no, this is all good. Like, I don't think about it. It's good. It's, but I felt bad for Coulter because he dealt with a lot of this crap and he doesn't want to, for him, it's just a number. I mean, he's had a great career, but he's hungry to, go deep in May.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of what I thought about with Mike. It's like records are records and you're always like championships records. But when you like truly change the game or like do something that no one else has done, then that's how people remember you. And I feel like Mike Powell's in that boat. You're in that boat. Ryan's in that boat. So it's like, doesn't matter if you hold the record or not, people still are going to remember you because you did something different in a way that other people didn't. So you guys have that going for you and no one can ever take it away from you.
Yeah. What I didn't anticipate was that like the history of the game was going to like continue to be told as the sport grows. I just thought that like after a certain amount of time, like everyone's just going to forget about the past. But with the broadcasts, with Kark and the PLL, like they love telling the story of the history of the sport, which is cool because I was into there wasn't a lot of content from before 80s, but I mean, you knew who Jimmy Lewis was, you knew Jim Brown played, you saw like pictures of Hopkins, Maryland with the booty shorts at Bird and Homewood. And so I just thought everyone would forget about us, but it's, having your picture pop up is kind of weird because I've kind of forgotten about my career. Like I'm so old that like I forgot to remember about my, like maybe like, you get over it. Like in your 40, like late 30s, early 40s, you're like, okay, like, yeah, I had a career, great, but we're going to move on, like family, whatever stuff. And then you're like, it just seems kind of abstract. That's why, like, looking at these hats, it's like, wow, like 96, 7, 8, like that was crazy. Like that was a great run, but like that's not like top of mind, like for me right now. It's amazing memories, best friends ever. Love that we did it, but just not thinking about it a lot.
And I think that speaks volumes about what you've continued to do after your playing career and off the field. And that's, I think, for the people that necessarily don't even reach the peak that you did on the field, they don't also have that kind of that coupled. And I think that's what makes you so special, hubby.
I love being ancient history, I want to be a fossil.
You're the best.
Well, thanks guys. It's been a great chat. Let's do it again.
Sounds great. Thanks. We might have to have a Trilogy Office Talk roundtable. Get all guests together. Maybe we'll do a cocktail hour.
Let's do it.
I'll follow your lead on organizing that.
Get some single malts. Can we play some Band of Horses?
I have you.
It's on his notes.
It
It's on his
was-
notes.
Band of horses.
That my wife was mortified when we got home at 3 a.m. and we're singing at the top of our like lungs. Like she was, because she was downstairs, she couldn't hear us.
That's right. That's what we had in our heads.
Yeah.
It wasn't true. She heard you. Would you guys went out to a concert till like 3 a.m, and then came home and just kept whooping it up?
Yeah. We were in the zone. I told her we were in the flow state. Leave us alone.
That's right. Band of Horses was flowing, as were we. And we were singing along with them at an ungodly hour, at an ungodly volume.
We might have to go. Band of Horses on the radio.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Hubby.
See you guys.
See ya.
Go Cornell. Go Tigers.
Let's do it. Ivy League all the way.
Ivy baby. Nerds can play.